5 years, $170 million. Big fat new deal, and becomes the highest paid defensive player in football. Whether or not you were going to see him on Sunday, Kyle Shanahan joked basically he'd have to have a beer belly not to play.
The San Francisco 49ers got some really good news today, but this also kind of makes their future a little cloudy, which is also kind of the beauty of the NFL if you really think about it. And I'll tell you what I mean in just a sec. Before we get to the content, we're running giveaways on my Instagram account. You just have to be a follower on Instagram. Enter for a chance to win $700 split between 10 of my followers there. We're going to announce the giveaway winners on Sunday to celebrate week 1 of the NFL season. Now that we get all that out of the way, break! This is pretty much free money. We only need to correctly pick 2 squares to 3x our money on Prize Picks.
That's impossible!
And to celebrate the NFL season kicking off, Prize Picks is giving us a free square. All Dak Prescott needs is 1 passing yard in order to fulfill his square. So you combine that with Travis Kelce, who only needs 1 receiving touchdown. This is Old Mike. Old Mike made the mistake of picking Travis Kelce to get 1 receiving touchdown in the season opener. But Travis Kelce is questionable to play versus the Detroit Lions. Thankfully, Prize Picks has reboots. What are reboots? Well, let's say you decide to pick a player who actually plays in the entire first half of the game, and then he gets injured for the entire second half. Well, Prize Picks will count him as a player that didn't play at all whatsoever, and if you made a 3-pick entry, it'll go down to a 2-pick entry, completely disqualifying him from your entry. And since Travis Kelce is out, we're gonna pair Dak Prescott, who
will get 1 passing yard,
with Justin Jefferson, who only needs 1 receiving touchdown, versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to convert. Make sure you use my promo code Mikerophone to double your deposit on your first entry, and to follow me on Instagram to see who I'm picking each and every day. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The last time we talked about this topic, we actually brought up a extremely highly speculative rumor from Reddit that I said is very unbelievable, and you probably shouldn't believe, that
the San Francisco 49ers were considering trading Nick Bosa to an AFC team.
We all knew that wasn't really going to happen. It was fun to speculate on, but we all knew that wasn't really going to happen. The problem between Nick Bosa and the San Francisco 49ers was, how was Bosa going to be paid? He was coming off of a season where he won Defensive Player of the Year. And when you look at the highest paid edge rushers in the NFL, at least at that point, the highest paid edge rusher at the time was TJ Watt, averaging $28 million a year. But what makes things even more interesting is the highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL is none other than Aaron Donald. What's unique about Aaron Donald's contract is he was paid significantly higher than any other defensive player in the NFL. I mean, you just take a look at this chart. Even Quinnen Williams' contract, who, don't get me wrong, Quinnen Williams is awesome and he got paid more recently, but he's not Aaron Donald, is $7.6 million less on average than what Aaron Donald was getting paid. So if you remember, Aaron Donald's leverage at the time was telling the Rams that he was just going to leave. There was nothing for him left there. He might as well just move on because he's won Defensive Player of the Year. He's won a Super Bowl. He's made a ton of money. Why risk the CTE? Why risk any brain damage? What else is there left for him to accomplish? So he threatened retirement at the time. The Rams didn't want to lose a once in a generation type defensive talent, so they made him an offer that he couldn't refuse, paying him $31.6 million. And to be honest, I'm glad that Aaron Donald asked for this type of money, because he ended up coming back to a team that has to pay a hefty bill for them going all in on that Super Bowl 2 years ago. I mean, the Rams aren't really looking like a team that's going to be contending this year. I mean, they might surprise some people, but they aren't necessarily the top of my list in terms of championship contenders. And as a matter of fact, it's a similar situation as what the Buccaneers are in. They're swimming in dead money, so they need to pay their tab so they could build contenders for the future, which is very similar to the situation we have on our hands now, because it seems like their NFC West division rival, San Francisco 49ers, are doing the same thing, although I think they're doing it at a much better time. And what do I mean by that? Well, last year, the San Francisco 49ers made a huge trade for Christian McCaffrey. The Panthers traded Christian McCaffrey and received a 2nd-round pick, a 3rd-round pick, and a 4th-round pick, and a 5th-round pick in return for him. Last offseason, they decided to sign Deebo Samuel to a huge contract. contract extension. And during the 2020 NFL draft, the San Francisco 49ers traded for Trent Williams. You couple that with the fact that the 49ers have been doing a fantastic job drafting in the NFL draft. No, except for him. Okay, and him too. Oh my God. All right, let me rephrase. The 49ers have been doing a fantastic job drafting in the later rounds of the NFL draft. I mean, come on, George Kittle and Fred Warner are absolute studs, but as a result, eventually you need to pay these players. And when you couple that with the news that they got today, it may make things a little hairy. So the big storyline coming into this week was whether or not the San Francisco 49ers were going to be able to pay their last successful first round pick and a truly once in a generation type talent. Last year's Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa. And the question was, how much was Nick Bosa going to get paid? My personal prediction was going to be in the 30 millions, just underneath Aaron Donald, but still enough to make him the highest paid edge rusher in the NFL. But I was wrong about that, because according to Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, the San Francisco 49ers have officially signed Nick Bosa to a huge contract. Check it out. Sources, the 49ers and All-Pro edge Nick Bosa have agreed to terms on a massive new contract extension, with the reigning Defensive Player of the Year becoming the highest paid pass rusher in the NFL. Bosa's holdout is over as he gets a 5-year, $170 million deal. I wanted to just say that there's no question in my mind. This contract's worth it. This is how much you should be paying Nick Bosa. It is significantly more than I thought how much he was going to get paid for sure, because Aaron Donald's contract was already a huge jump. And when you take a look at this, you realize how much Aaron Donald's contract hooked up the rest of edge rushers. I mean, running backs need a man like Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald just came out of nowhere despite defensive tackles getting paid about $22 to $23 million a year annually, and or $26, $27 million annually if you're an edge rusher, and said, I don't care, pay me over $30 million or I'm out. And now Nick Bosa significantly jumped that number by about $2.5 million. And this was the right call for the 49ers, because time is ticking on their Super Bowl window. And I'm not saying their Super Bowl window is shut, and I'm not saying that this team is going to be bad, but what I am saying is they might be running into some issues with the salary cap. Now, look, I think the salary cap in the NFL is a beautiful thing. It's what keeps new and fresh teams consistently competing for Super Bowls each and every year. It really shows you who wants to win Super Bowls and who's willing to make that financial sacrifice, such as the Patrick Mahomeses of the world. So I'm not saying that the 49ers are screwed. I'm saying that there are going to be some gymnastics that they need to figure out moving forward. And I don't think their situation is as bad as, say, the Los Angeles Rams was after they won a Super Bowl. And the good news is they've been a Super Bowl contender for quite some time. But come 2024, they're going to be in some trouble. So what am I talking about? Well, currently the 49ers have the highest paid edge rusher in the NFL, the highest paid running back in the NFL, the highest paid fullback in the NFL, the third highest paid tight end in the NFL, the third highest paid left tackle in the NFL, the third highest paid linebacker in the NFL, the sixth highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL, which they just signed this past offseason, and the seventh highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. And the reason they're able to get away with all this, because they have a quarterback that is making less than $1 million this year. Now, I'm not saying that this team is screwed. I'm saying that there's going to be some gymnastics that are going to be coming forward. So to give you an idea, the 49ers cap hits in 2024, when it's all said and done, is Trent Williams is at $28 million, Deebo Samuel at $28.5 million, Eric Armstead is at $25.6 million, Fred Warner at $24.4 million, George Kittle at $19.8 million, Charvarius Ward at $17.9 million, Christian McCaffrey at $14.1 million, and it's so bad that we should actually be concerned about a potential Brandon Ayuk 5th-year option, which he probably will have exercised on him, which is also $14.1 million. Now, again, this isn't a problem if you have a general manager that knows what he's doing. And I actually believe John Lynch has a good idea of what he's doing. Yes, there are times where he was overly aggressive in the draft. Yes, his first round draft selection have been a little bit shaky to say the least recently. But at the same time, you could say that Joey Bosa's contract won't cost the 49ers any of their core players. And the 2024 situation is being overblown because there are things that they could do in order to kick the can further down the road. For instance, they could sign Dre Greenlaw, Eric Armstead, and Charvarius Ward to contract extensions. This would save them about $27.6 million. You could restructure Deebo Samuel's contract to save over $15.8 million. That'll save them $43 million. And that way you won't lose any of the players that we mentioned originally. So I felt like it was really important to mention all of this because a lot of 49ers fans are a little bit concerned for the future. So there is a problem, but this is a situation that the 49ers could get out of. And it's not like what the Los Angeles Rams or Tampa Bay Buccaneers did to win their Super Bowls. At the end of the day, this had to happen. You'd be an idiot if you didn't extend Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa had all the leverage in the world over the 49ers because there were teams that were willing to sign Nick Bosa for this amount. So good call on the 49ers for doing what they should do. And this also explains why they had to trade Trey Lance. They were in such a tough situation that it wasn't worth having Trey Lance on your roster as a QB3 when you have a Super Bowl window. You can't just have a developmental quarterback sitting down making $34 million throughout his first contract and still trying to sign players like Nick Bosa. Every dollar counts at this point. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.